Let's go Broncos! What if I told you that Von Miller, yes, that Von Miller, called the Denver Broncos this offseason and tried to come back to play? That the Super Bowl MVP, the face of one of the most dominant defenses in NFL history, wanted to wear orange and blue once more and was rejected? You probably haven't heard the whole story yet, and believe me, you'll want to keep reading because what I've discovered will generate serious debate among Broncos fans. It wasn't just a passing idea. Von Miller had a real intention to return home, and the Broncos had to make a difficult decision. Was it the right decision, or did they lose something bigger than football? Before I explain everything and reveal the exclusive details, don't forget to like the post, but only if you're a true Broncos fan and still remember exactly where you were during Super Bowl 50. And leave a comment below saying, "Go Broncos! We support our legends." If you believe that players like Von should always have a place in Denver, then, because this goes beyond statistics, beyond age, beyond business, it's about legacy, about a team choosing between what it's building and what it once was. So, what really happened between Von Miller and George Payton? Why did the Broncos say no? And is there still a possibility of a farewell season in 2026? I have all the details, all the statements, and all the angles. Don't go away. Now, here's the scoop. Von Miller, the face of Denver's dominant Super Bowl 50 defense, didn't want to end his career in Buffalo. In a revealing interview, Von admitted he reached out to the Broncos during the offseason. He wanted to come back. He wanted to finish where it all started. His exact words? "I did reach out to the Denver Broncos. I tried to be on the Denver Broncos as well, but it was just a short conversation with me and George Payton." The response from Payton? It was respectful, but firm. George told Von that the Broncos are building something different now, something focused on youth, speed, and special teams versatility. He pointed directly to rising edge rushers like Nick Benito and Jonathan Cooper as the team's future, along with rookies Jonah Ellis and Dondre Tillman, who each logged 5 sacks in rotational roles in 2024 and play key roles on special teams. That last part was crucial. Von, at this point in his career, isn't a contributor in the kicking game. He knows it, he admitted it, and this wasn't about disrespect or legacy. Everyone in Denver still reveres Von Miller. Let's not forget, this is a player with 110.5 career sacks in a Broncos uniform, 511 total tackles, 142 tackles for loss, and 25 forced fumbles. He's a first-ballot Ring of Famer in Broncos country, no question. He will be enshrined one day at Empower Field. But this conversation was about fit. It was about the system Vance Joseph is running. And it was about the financials and roster construction needed to compete at the highest level again. But here's the twist. Von Miller's not washed. In 2025, at 36 years old, he's still putting up respectable numbers. 13 tackles, 5 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and 9 QB hits. His Pro Football Focus grade of 59.2 may not scream All-Pro, but for a so-called old man, Von is still making plays. That raises a compelling question. Should the Broncos consider bringing him back next year? Right now, Denver has roughly $50 million in available cap space, and that number could grow depending on off-season moves. So, imagine a scenario where Von comes back on a veteran minimum deal, not as a full-time starter, not even as a top 3 pass rusher, but as a rotational piece, a mentor, a locker room presence, someone who could teach the intricacies of the game to young stars like Benito, Cooper, and Ellis. Think about it, Von Miller as a player-coach type, similar to what we've seen with other aging legends around the league. You plug him into situational pass rushing packages, let him unleash his technique on third downs, and let his voice lead in the locker room. Wouldn't that be the perfect way to close the book on a Hall of Fame career? Wouldn't that make sense for a franchise that prides itself on honoring its legends? But of course, there are risks. Do you slow the development of your younger guys? Do you take reps away from someone like Dondre Tillman, who's proving he belongs in the rotation? And can Von himself accept a reduced role, one that doesn't include being the guy anymore? These are tough questions, but they're real. Because here's the thing, this isn't just a football decision. It's an emotional one. Von Miller isn't just another player. He's one of the most iconic figures in franchise history. He was the Super Bowl 50 MVP. He was the leader of one of the greatest defenses the NFL has ever seen. His strip sack of Cam Newton is etched into the memory of every Broncos fan alive. And when a player like that wants to come home, it pulls at the heartstrings. But Sean Payton isn't in Denver to manage nostalgia. He's here to win. And to win in today's NFL, you need to balance youth with experience. But most importantly, you need speed, versatility, and depth. Right now, the Broncos are betting on the speed and youth of guys like Benito and Cooper, and they're not wrong to do it. Benito had a breakout 2024 season, showing he could consistently win off the edge with burst and bend. Cooper, meanwhile, has become a tone-setter on defense, known for his high motor and relentless pursuit. These aren't placeholders, they're building blocks. Even more intriguing is how Jonah Ellis and Dondre Tillman have started to emerge. Both logged 5 sacks in limited rotational roles, and unlike Vaughn, they're contributing on special teams. That kind of versatility is exactly what Vance Joseph wants in his scheme. This is a defense that demands energy from top to bottom. So when George Payton looked at his depth chart, he didn't see a spot where Vaughn naturally fit, not because Vaughn can't play, but because the priorities have shifted. Still, it's impossible to ignore the value of leadership, the kind that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, the kind that holds the locker room together during losing streaks. That's the intangible Vaughn brings. And in a league where chemistry often separates contenders from pretenders, it's not wild to think a player like Vaughn could make an impact even with limited snaps. Think about what he could offer Bo Nix and the rest of this young team, not just schematically, but emotionally, mentally. He's done it all. He's been through Super Bowl runs. He's faced adversity. That type of voice is irreplaceable. Let's also not ignore the optics. Broncos fans would show up in droves for Von Miller's return. There's something poetic about a player retiring in the uniform where he became a legend. Just imagine the crowd erupting at Empower Field when Vaughn comes in on 3rd and long to chase down a quarterback one last time. That's the stuff fans live for. That's the kind of moment that reminds everyone what this sport is all about. And let's be honest, this team could use a few feel-good moments. But practicality matters too. Von Miller won't be cheap, even on a vet minimum. And the Broncos are trying to rebuild a winning culture. Would his presence potentially overshadow the younger players? Could it create pressure on Payton and Joseph to play him more than they should? Those aren't small concerns. And Vaughn would need to be fully on board with a reduced role, not just in words, but in action. No locker room thrives if a veteran is quietly frustrated behind the scenes. And yet, every time this conversation circles back to football, it circles back to the same truth. Von Miller still has something left. 5 sacks in a rotational role at his age is no small feat. He's not the Vaughn of 2015, but he's also not a liability. He could still contribute. The only question is whether the Broncos can find a role that makes sense without compromising the direction they're going. The timing may be the key. Maybe 2025 wasn't the moment, but 2026 could be. If Ellis or Tillman take a step back, if depth becomes a concern, if the Broncos make a playoff push and need that veteran presence, if Vaughn still wants it, all of that has to line up. And the beauty of it, there's still time. Vaughn hasn't closed the door. Denver hasn't either. Let's take this conversation even deeper, Broncos country. Because what's happening here isn't just about Von Miller. It's about a franchise standing at a crossroads between the past and the future. It's about identity. It's about legacy. And it's about the kind of culture Sean Payton wants to build moving forward. The Broncos aren't just any team trying to claw their way back to relevance. They're one of the proudest franchises in NFL history. And Von Miller is a pillar of that history. His presence alone raises the standards inside the building. When a player like that walks into the locker room, people listen. Young guys elevate their game. Coaches know they have a leader who's been through the fire. That's not a detail, it's a difference maker. But this team is also trying to define a new core, a new generation of Broncos. They're trying to show that Nick Benito isn't just a flash in the pan, that Jonathan Cooper is more than a high motor role player. They want Jonah Ellis and Dondre Tillman to know they're not